playing the Fall of Oriath beta. We just made it to Act 7. So, in the age-old tradition, let's have a chat with everybody who has an exclamation point over their head, because we want to know all the lore. Judging by that rather curious ship and its aberrant captain, I imagine you had a rather interesting voyage here. Yet, as always, we are long on tails and short on time. Inquisitor Maligaro, we must have his soul. And while he has most certainly returned to his old haunt, his manifestations are like wisps on the wind. There one moment, gone the next. While I am familiar with the phantasmal trails and tributaries that filigree this reality, Maligaro's exact whereabouts elude me. You should speak with these desperate who cling to this broken bridge, that young Templar scholar in particular. Their mundane knowledge must provide where my enlightened sapiens cannot. Okay. I'm very curious to see Sin, once Sin finally gets a voiceover, what it's gonna be. Because right now, Sin doesn't have any voice acting. Well, some side characters like Waylon Roth actually do had voice acting, just as Lily Roth also had as well. But I wonder, just speculating a little bit, if the lack of voice acting is because Sin is obviously a major character that's just going to accompany us throughout the rest of the story. You know, a little bit like Deckard Cain in Diablo 3. And Diablo 2 before that, actually. And maybe the fact that Act 9 and 10 aren't ready yet means that maybe some of the scripts are not done yet. And therefore they haven't actually done the voice acting yet for Sin, because too much is still in flux. Could be. Okay, let's continue. This is the quest, I think. Yeah. So then we get the origins of the gods. There was a time before the beast, bathed in the shadows of lost memory, where men and women, like you, could ascend. Through rareness of power and the adoration of their people, these select few could reach out into the incensed smoke of immortality and grasp at the power of a god. But transcendence was never easy, and it came at a cost. Like the pains of childbirth, it wrought much agony and was defined by acts of tragedy and sacrifice. Though one could last through all of this and achieve their evolution to a higher plane, they would inevitably lose their humanity in the process. That is simply the way of it. Those of us who seek the thrones of immortality will almost always live long enough to see ourselves become truly monstrous. I like it. Sin feels like a very human spectator almost on the whole thing with the gods. Waylon, what do you have to say? He's no longer got any voice acting here though. Well, I do now. This here broken bridge speaks to me some. A fair place to rest me old bones for a bit. I tell you what. With all this sunlight and fresh air, I can feel the calling forth of the poetic muse beneath me trousers. Been a long time since I felt this here compass point in any direction. Speaking of which, that Yena's a pretty young thing, ain't she? Maybe that I spend some time here and get to know the lass a tad more. Never mind that she's young and alive and I be, old and dead. Once she hears me poetry, that is. Not a girlie alive who won't want for a bit of old rottooth once he breaks out the tongue twisters and wordplays.
Now, speaking of navigations and the like, a long time ago, I had me a nice collection of riches stuffed away in a lockbox. Being the stupid ass that I am, I buried the thing one eve when I was high in my cups. God for the death of me remember where except I know it was near this broken bridge. The box has a silver locket in it. It holds the portrait of my late wife, Meredith. It's the last thing I have in this world to remember her by. If you happen across my lockbox in your travels, I'd be appreciating of its return.
So the fearsome old pirates becomes a little sappy. Kind of fun.
It's a bit of an embarrassing affair, truth be told. Thought I could return to the golden days, you know. Be a terror of the high seas like in me youth. problem was, they'd all forgotten me. Those young blighters sailing about, they had no clue who I even were. Figured if I could complete another great feat, like slaying that sea bitch Mervale, maybe that'd earn me my respect back. Suppose I don't need to tell you. That girl is stronger than she looks. All it took were one slip of the old hands, and next I knew, the Black Crest were right against the coast, and I'm getting myself eaten alive by that hag. Peeled each separate muscle from my bones, she did. I tell you, it weren't pretty.
That sounds like a particularly horrible way to die.
I know Lily be missing me something great, and it cuts me deep not to go visit the lass. Thing is, I reckon she should remember me as I was, not retch at the sight of the spectre I be now. Let the legend live on in her mind, I say.
Okay, that's fair. I was wondering why there was no connection between Waylon Roth and Lily Roth, but if he wants to keep her memory of him intact, that's a pretty honorable way of resolving that issue.
Think of the worst place ye can imagine. That's Pondium. Now think of the gods be damned best whorehouse you've ever had the pleasure of. That's Pondium. A pirate paradise full of bodies to stab, holes to fill, and devious liquor to imbibe. Brine rots control the whole island and make sure it lives up to the lowest of expectations. Can't imagine much has changed since I was there last. Still, it's a good place to swashbuckle and make love to a bawdy, buxom bunter out back of a boozy bar.
Okay. So I wonder if the Pondium is going to be an area that we'll visit, or whether it would make a perfect setting for some maps in the future. No home of the brine rods?
Them brine rods be a nasty bunch. Led by me very own flesh and blood, me baby sister Lucy. The rot mother, they call her now. Used to be that I were their leader, back when the brine rots were about one thing, and one thing only, raiding, pillaging, and plundering their scrawny black guts out. Old Lucy were me first mate, for years. But she got a whiff of the power that being captain could gain her, and mutineered me own sister. Dropped me on some deserted island off the coast of somewhere. The bitch. Took months to make it back to the mainland. That brine rot clan's been trouble ever since. Used to have some good old-fashioned pirate on 'em, and now they're raving mad lunatics out for their next fix of fear and fortune.
Can't even trust your own pirating family anymore. What's up with that? At least nice to see that Waylon, with the exception of the introduction, at least has all his voice acting, because I do like the voice acting he's got. Ermir, let's see what you have to say. Ah yes, you do seem to have a penchant for presenting yourself when times are at their most perplexing. It would seem that our Almighty has forsaken us. False deities from ages past now rise and ravage, while our blessed innocence remains as silent as the stones at my feet. So much for Templar propaganda, eh? Well, I suppose if we were to fend off for ourselves, then I should answer your troubling arrival with our own most pressing tribulation. That relic that washed ashore started all the chaos, was covered in ancient vowed inscriptions. The symbols were much weathered, making them challenging to translate, but I did my best. The inscription spoke of the god, Ralakesh. This object somehow housed the spirit of that many-faced monstrosity, and I fear we are all in danger. Ralakesh was renowned for his penchant for subjugation and control. Please, I urge you to destroy this god, before his strength and dominance grows insurmountable. Nip this divine threat in the bud, as it were. Our poor friend Groost has likely become Radakesh's avatar in this world. At least his recent behavior would indicate as much. If you could see to Groost's passing, Ralakesh would be forced to retreat into the relic. Destroy the relic, and perhaps you will also destroy the god. So, disgruntled old Groost, Ralakesh's minion. That explains some of the things I have seen about Act 7. Yes, Ralakesh, the god of many faces. I read about this god when I looked after the museum in Theopolis. It said that he was obsessed with governance, in particular, the control of humanity through our base animal instincts. He ruled over the citizens of one unfortunate vile city. Alas, the name escapes me. Yet I do recall that his experiments brought his subjects to the brink of extinction, and that he was forced to enslave many a primitive Asmerian of the time so as to repopulate his domain. I shudder at the thought, can only imagine that Ralakesh has rather similar plans now. The scroll speed of the dialogue that don't have voice acting yet is always a little bit fast. I have to keep scrolling up to actually keep up with my own reading. Silk. It started with a few mumblings in his slumber, then long forays the wilds, searching for relics of a distinctly arachnid nature. I thought it a natural extension of Silk's eccentric persona at first. Then came the sleepless nights studying those relics, the fevered recitations in broken Valish, the strange 8-phase rituals. Then one night, Silk gathered his collection and scudded off into the darkness without a word. Silk has always been susceptible to fine fictions. Perhaps he has finally shunned reality altogether. I do like that each character does have their own personality and also their own vocabulary. No, the Waylon Roth really is just a bawdy pirate, just speaking in crude slang and things like that. While Aramir has more of a scholar to him, with more complicated words, so to say, where they could have just as easily chosen some simpler ones. But there's a little bit more of a refined thing to it, even though he basically still looks like a beggar. Waylon. A fascinating case that flies in the face of all that is natural. Waylon is undead, for sure, something we have in spades in raid class, but a sentient, reasonable ghost? Now that is rare indeed. When we talk, I feel as if I'm staring into the breach, witnessing that which man was not meant to know. I theorized about what animates the pirate's essence, how he manages to manifest on this earth once again. I think I shall compile my observations and speculations into a book. Yes, Aramir's Elucidations of Undeath. There's a nice ring to it, don't you think? Elucidations even. That's to say, he uses fancy words. Navali is just Navali. Yina.
You arrive. The great
Exactly.
spirit spoke in my dreams, told me that darkness would again drown our lands, and you, exile, would walk before the flood. But what is this? You are not alone. A shade, a memory, older even than... No, older than spirit? Fear grips my throat. I shake, but the spirit drapes a warming cloak upon my shoulders. This ancient ghost that follows you, it has the trust of the spirit, and if the spirit trusts, then I trust.
To be honest, I don't particularly remember Yina's story arc, so I have no idea what this spirit is that she speaks of. Forest encampment.
My heart weeps for our old home, but what the spirit gives, we must embrace. The spirit, it claims who it needs to, when it needs to. There is no sense in sadness.
Ah, yes.
I watched Silk for many days, scurrying to this old Val stone, scurrying to that old Val ruin, always muttering. He talked and talked and talked, yet I heard no one answer. The spirit warned that I should stay away from him. It pained me. Silk is my friend, yet I must listen to spirit. I go from Silk's side, and now he is gone from mine. I do not know where Silk go, but I see him in dreams. He is caught in great spider web that stretch into darkness. And that spider web, it is full of bones. More bones from more people than I ever see in my life. If you find Silk, please, free him from the web. Don't let him become bones like the rest.
Well, it's gonna be a while before we can resolve the Silk conundrum. I think it's tied to the act boss of Act 7.
Rayclast has changed. Once, I knew my place in this world. I knew my place within the spirit. Now, doorways have opened. Doorways I can neither see nor touch, but through which the spiritless ones pass all the same. The spiritless ones must be driven back. Their doors must be closed. May the Great Spirit guide you in your battles against these ancients that mean us nothing but ill.
And finally, Whalem.
I belong to no one but the Spirit. I have no need for the sweet words and caresses of a ghost. Whalem, he makes me laugh, and he hears the voice of the Spirit. Not in the same way I do. His spirit speaks of the great waters beyond this land. He pays heed to the Spirit, and the Spirit loves him for it. I do not. It is better to speak to the dead than no one at all. Whalem knows the Spirit, but he will not know me.
Interesting. And once again, we cannot buy any gems here. We will probably have to head back to... Because no, there's no Lily here. Maybe Whalem has the thing, but we'll see. For now, Helena, what do you have to say?
Turn your back for the barest moment and Rayclast bites you in the proverbial. I imagine that's how you're feeling upon visiting us this time. It's how I feel about now. I'm afraid that the Inquisitor's spirit has indeed returned to the Chamber of Sins. Yet while you won't encounter Maligaro by wandering his halls, I do perhaps know how you can find him. Whilst investigating the Fell Shrine, I learned of the existence of a map, forged by Maligaro from his own viscera. This map allowed him to transfer his spirit into another form of existence, an existential safe house to which he could retreat should death ever attempt to take him.
Okay.
Understanding the map's purpose, Vol tried to destroy it, to no avail. So he locked it away deep within the ruins of Freesia Cathedral. Find that map and place it upon the Reverie device in Maligaro's old laboratory. And when you step over that threshold, expect the very worst.
That's some ominous warnings. But Maligaro is probably going to be an interesting fight as well. Looking forward to it.
Don't get me wrong, I've witnessed many unsettling things in my lifetime, but a spectral corsair living next door to me? We reside in dark times indeed, when the living need share their quarters with the dead. I didn't think it possible for Silk to grow any more peculiar, but then I've been wrong about so many things since coming to Rayclast that I shouldn't have been at all surprised. Still, it's interesting that his behavior of late has mirrored that of certain Templar zealots I had the dubious pleasure of meeting back in Theopolis. Like them, Silk appeared obsessed with finding answers to this reality in some ethereal realm of divinity. For my part, I prefer to keep faith in this world. The answers that come from beyond are seldom the ones we want.
That's a nice take on things.
My poor Groost. A kind man. A strong man. And now... I begged him not to meddle with that relic. It washed ashore after the earthquake, and Groost simply had to know whether it was a danger to us. To me. The unholy thing within that device. It possessed Groost, turned him into a monstrosity. We fled the village, and as I turned back, I saw he was killing them. The stragglers, killing them all, even the children. My Groost is dead. That thing that has stolen his body. Please, destroy it.
Okay, that's a little bit more direct than Ermir phrased it, I think. But yeah, the objective is gonna be kill Groost.
I'm aware that you and Groost had something of a commercial relationship prior to his accident. As is the Asmeri custom, Groost's few possessions have now passed to me. I'm by no means the warrior he was, yet I know my blades and bows well enough. At least it's something I can do to honor his memory, and to keep my mind off things.
So, Helena is now the vendor here. That's nice. Because indeed, I hadn't seen a vendor yet. And of course, in the age-old tradition, no decent base items are for sale. Oh, at least we can sell the rubbish
Keep
things.
your life to your own.
There's a stash hidden behind here. And then we have some essences that we can stock and some flasks to put away. Okay. Speaking with the others, did anything unlock here? I doubt it. Just double check.
Good to see you're still kicking.
Yeah, okay, so we got some extra dialogues here, but we don't have any gems here. So let's listen to more dialogue.
Ina's a pretty young thing, ain't she? Bosoms to eclipse a sun she has. Might be that I spent some time here. Get to know the lass a tad more. Never mind that she's young and alive and I be old and dead. Once she hears me.
Right, that one we already heard, but it wasn't
kicking.
kicked off.
That lassie. Pretty on the eyes, I reckon. But she's got her knickers pulled up far too high. Bit uptight, if you ask me.
Finally, Eramir.
Eramir? Oh, he's a tad dull. Tends to ramble on a bit. Still, he's a few interesting stories of his own. So might be worth chewing the fat with from time to time.
Interesting typo, ending the sentence with a period and then followed by a comma. That's probably a typo. Ooh, Sin has something to say about Ralakesh. Let us go hunting. Ralakesh. He's ruthless and cruel, with cunning unfathomable. Yet he bears one defining weakness, a fear he forged into chains of his own keeping. He is the terror of grasping too much and having it all slip through his fingers. It makes him irrational and therefore vulnerable. And Master of a Million Faces. Ralakesh, the illustrious Master of a Million Faces. I call him the god of hide and seek. While other deities wage wars, he spread their seed and laid to waste whole empires. Ralakesh perched on his throne in a dark place of ebony, choked with incense, blinded by obedience, and deafened by a senseless cacophony of brass gongs. Thankfully, he never had the courage to peek over the high walls he'd built, else the world might have been in trouble. Okay, so seems like that Master of Many Faces, Ralakesh, is actually relatively competent.
Good to see you alive and well, Culler. I've been thinking about you and what else we might be able to do for each other. I've learned to make do with what's at hand in Rayclast. Nowadays, if it shoots, then I know how to make it shoot faster, straighter, and harder. If you're open to a little trading, I can find you a thing or two that'll help you get the drop on even the nastiest of corrupted vermin out there.
Okay, this is just a regular introduction, but same old, basically. Same here. Level 3. We got to buy some things if we would like. Okay. Let's get started then. Broken Bridge. Only took me like, what, 25 minutes to get through all the voice acting and the dialogues here, but hey, that's the fun of new content. You get to see all of the lore. Now, let's get murdering. Okay, for reference, I upgraded my weapon into a new two-hander. We have a 4-link now, so we do quite some more damage with Viper Strike. And we also do a bit more damage with Puncture. So dealing with bosses should be a bit more efficient now. Our life went up a little bit. Our resists are so-so. 63, 70,
You there.
75.
Let me bend your ear for a moment.
And vegan.
So here's how this works.
Oh. Let's take out this bandit dead first. And some more bears. Hey, hairy bone crunchers. It's been a while. And of course, there's more ravenous parasites. They are gonna be a continuum annoyance. They're small, they're hard to target. Yeah, luckily they die quickly. So, vegan, where were we? Yes. So, like that.
I think it's... The more we fight... The
Level 3 vegan. And he dropped a decent number of rares. Okay. The undead here seem to rise up out of their piles of bones a little faster than some of the other ones would. Brittle bandits. Let's see, what's the structure here? Oh, there's only one way out. Okay, that's relatively straightforward. More brittle bandits, scavenging vultures. Okay. Normally we didn't see these until we got to the aqueducts. They were actually really a Act 4 thing. So kind of interesting to see them now here in the Act 3 area. More parasites. Okay, and there is the road. Okay, just having come out of town. Yeah, there's not going to be a waypoint here. That's probably going to be the next area. Which, well, logically would be the crossroads. Oh, and Raptured Beast. What's up with them? Oh, wow, they actually had those parasites on them. They had like a big green streak on the sides. So initially I thought those parasites would be related to Rakshasa, what was the... Rislatha, yes, the puppet queen from Act 3, previous waypoint, now busted. But maybe it has something more to do with the dude that is currently possessing Groost. With Ralakesh. So I'm curious to see if that gets resolved or not. Okay, just trying to cover as much of the map to see if there's anything interesting hidden in here, if there's any new named uniques or things like that. Hey, explosive arrows, wasn't that the attack that stacks charges and then have them all explode? Yeah, I think they do. Let's see, what if we try to get hit a couple times? Does it actually show? Hit by explosive arrow, yeah, and then it explodes. So it's actually visible. That's nice. But one of the interesting side effects of all the enemies now using many more interesting attacks. Now we've seen explosive arrow here, we have enduring cry, so that's going to be a taunt. On top of that we have of course the nemesis and the bloodlines mobs. There's going to be a lot of stuff happening up there and it's going to become even more difficult to just figure out what the heck is affecting you. So I wonder if somewhere during the beta we're going to get an overhaul or an improvement of the status indications. Even if it's just a separation of the buffs that you personally apply to yourself versus debuffs that enemies apply to you. Just so it becomes more easier to see what the heck is going on. And I think I remember someone suggesting that maybe, you know, instead of having the debuffs show up here, maybe showing them down here in the area where you're already paying attention because of your life is here, your flasks are there. Because then all the positive things that affect you, yeah, big deal. If they fall off, then you might lose some temporary buffs. Things like fortified timing and things like that. But if you're affected by a negative debuff, it is kind of nice to be able to see it at a glance rather than having to spend quite some time seeing in the long list of modifiers up there if something is wrong, and if so, actually what it is, or trying to hover over it. And especially if things keep popping in and out. Ooh, Mortal Morsel. But especially if things keep popping in and out, it's actually more difficult to hover over it as well. Let's see, something is up here. Dirty lockbox. Silver lockets, from Whalem to Meredith. I shall love thee as I love the sea. That has a nice level of poetry to it. Okay, that is most of the things covered. Oh, there's little bits and pieces of the map that have been unexplored, but I walked around it, so pretty good confidence that we didn't accidentally leave any unique bosses behind. Of course, this big area, it's still filled with things, so let's actually have a look on this inside. Because this would be a perfect place to actually stage a boss fight. I wonder, with the chest standing here, if we were to go here back in Act 2, would we see a lockbox as part of the background that we just can't interact with? That would be a nice way to link it all together. Let's see, just trying to get some more coverage. And we're just gonna weave from side to side until we got most of the map covered. Open the Eye of the Storm, yes. Oh, nice. Things narrow down here a little bit, so we don't have to weave as far. Now, this being a side quest, I don't expect there to be a follow-up, so we'll just hand it in the moment we get back in town rather than instantly. Or when we get to a waypoint or something. Hello, brittle bandits. They use puncture, so that is nice. That's where some of the bleeding comes from. Interesting side effect of being a slayer is that I'm immune to bleeding as long as I'm leeching life. So as long as I'm fighting something, then it's alright. And they can try to cause bleeding as much as they want, but I don't care. Poison, on the other hand, is something that I'm getting more and more used to actually seeing, though the damage impact of poison is kinda meh. It's a bit comparable to my own poison damage output, which is also kinda meh. But of course, in defense of poison, I'm not trying to scale it. It's just free damage that I'm getting with a Viper Strike. Okay, and we're now full. So let's go back and empty pockets. Let's see, Whalem, what do you have to say about the locket?
Me locket! Oh, me darling, me beautiful Meredith. How I miss your shuddering bosoms, your quivering thighs. She had a heart to melt an iceberg, and teats the size of a... Ooh. Well, anyway, I thank you greatly. Please, whatever else be in that lockbox, take your pick from it. This locket be the only treasure I need.
Sentimental old pirates. But guaranteed utility flasks. Now that is absolutely lovely. Though the one thing I'm missing here is the silver flask. The one that gives you the consecrated ground. Okay, is there anything I don't have yet? Because I think I found most of them. Let's see, can we move things around a bit? Yeah, I think I don't have a jade flask yet, so let's pick that one up. And then, yeah, Mortemosso. It is a nice item. Poison is hit, so you can just guarantee poison with that. Physical damage converted to chaos. Okay, so.
Greetings.
Let's see. One-handers don't care. Wrong base. Decent lightning, a little bit of life. Only 3 sockets, but that's okay. I think we might be staring at an upgrade here. It's not a stellar item, but it's an upgrade of sorts. And the lack of cold resists on here is okay because we are massively overcapped on it. Okay. I approve. Let's see. Some flaskies. Oh, go away, please. Some uniques, put those away, and then have a little bit of a look. Yeah, see, 150 gold. We don't need all of that. Let's see, this is just our movement and ancestral war chief. So if we drop this, put this one in, then we're capped out on lightning resist. That is nice. And we gain a bit more armor and a bit more life. So we go from 2052 to 2103, so that's 50 life extra. And armor 3450 becomes nearly 4000. Yes, this is definitely a worthy upgrade. That's it. Let's see, leap slam, faster attacks, just a war chief. It is worth. Would be worth it on the other hand. I think in this case with only 2 fuses it's not that critical. So let's just roll 1 green on the shared link. And then we do it like that. Back with the war chief. And then this one goes into the old gear box. Okay. We become better. We can become stronger. And we pick up this Finzer helm. What is Bandit, and there is a waypoint doorway of sorts. Cool. Just for completeness sake. Run over here. And I think we indeed have not found a named unique in here. It's one of the few areas that doesn't have one. Alright, alright. Onwards to the crossroads then. So you go to Fellshrine Crypts for Maligaro's map. And to the old encampment, yeah. And kill Oak to defeat Arakaali. Okay. Because that is the bandit I chose in Act 2. So I think this is the the fight where there's gonna be 4 variations of the fight, one for each of the bandit reward choices. Nope, siding with one of the 3 bandits or siding with Eramir in the end. And based on the choices you should get a different fight. But I think they only have implemented 1, so I wonder if that's gonna be the default version. Let's see, damage taken. Yeah, all goes to 52, so that's alright. Let's see, was there anything in there? No. Okay, let's push forward. Split arrow, okay. And Orb of Alchemy, nice. It's... Oh well, playing through Act 5, I did grumble a little bit about it, that I didn't really find any of the Orbs of Alchemy or any decent ways to upgrade my gear. But ever since Act 6, I've been finding enough to basically not have to complain about it anymore. It feels like it's alright. So I wonder if I just was unlucky or whether Act 5 could do with a little bit more tuning. Or if it's intentional that you're supposed to feel like you're not getting anything in Act 5 and then Act 6 is where the fun begins. Let's backtrack a little bit just to get as much exposure as possible. So the old mill here on the side used to house Bravalo, guaranteed unique. Wonder what I've done with it. It was a unique of sorts, so... It was a skeleton, I think, so making a comeback would not be overly weird, since all the dead things seems to come back here. But no, no Bravalo. Either way, we have a waypoint. Okay, so we have 2 quests, Ralakesh and Maligaro's map. I got a feeling that the Maligaro is gonna be just 1 point on the way forward. And I think Ralakesh is gonna be just part of the hunting for the gods arc. So let's focus on that one. Also, we're just simply closer to it than to the Fellshrine ruins. Okay, someone is spinning to win. And something has been touched by a ghost. Oh, come on. Get back here, you silly ghost. Stop, stand still and fight. Ah! I nearly had it. Right. In that case, let's stand and fight. We did manage to infect enough mobs, so probably gonna get a decent amount of drops. So quite some low tier currencies here. Okay. One thing they haven't mentioned is what happens on the direction towards the Chamber of Sins. I'm assuming that's gonna be the follow-up. And it's the Heralds of Obelisk variation that's not that scary. At least they're not lightning warping, so that's good. Okay. Hello? We'll talk about a warm welcome. So now that we are here, quest updated to talk about Helena about how to get there. Let's have a bit of a look. So this is just burning. Does it actually show where the things come from? Are there like archers on the other side, or is it just invisible sources of damage? Seems to be a little bit mysterious about it. Okay. Oh, there's more vultures. So just beeline back to the waypoint, and then we're gonna have a chat with Helena, see what she's got to say about it. Ooh, confrontation. Wait, wasn't there? Yeah. Let me actually finish that thought. Normally we had the old fields here on the way to town, so I seem to remember there being a broken waypoint in the beast den now. So maybe we have to find a way there now to just put a new spin on an old location. Let's see what Helena has to say.
When I was part of Piety's expedition into the Chamber of Sins, I stumbled upon a secret passage. It appears to have been constructed by the Inquisitor for the purpose of conveying his creations from his laboratory via an ancient cave system to the surrounding countryside without detection. These caves seem to feed out into what was once farmland near our former village. It may prove a useful route for you, although the passage was locked when I last stood before it. Let us hope that the key remains somewhere nearby.
Ah, exactly. So, Chamber of Sins, passage, into the den. Good times. Let's see, it's all just one-handers and... Oh, Fencer Helm. Anything in here that's optional? Not quite. So, then we'll just sell it.
Hello.
And stash the currencies. Like as so. And to the Chamber of Sins we go. Well, that does mean that the fight on the way to Ralakesh, it's not as close as I had expected it to be. Because we have to go through the Chamber of Sins anyway. But I never really liked going into the Fell Shrine area, so just postponing that one till later. Gotta go there anyway at some point, but might as well do the thing that I've actually been a bit more curious about. Okay, normally we would be greeted by a unique here. And again, things are a little different now. Is there anything... any other uniques maybe? I do like that there's just a lot more things happening here now. Oh, we have the spin to win, or spin to lose. Skeletons down there. Especially if they start winning once they have been touched with blood. Well, bleed plus move means you take double damage. Ah, that's also one of the changes now, by the way. Used to be that bleeding while standing still, you only took 1/6 of the total bleeding damage. Now it's actually is half. So moving therefore makes it provides less of a damage increase to the bleeding. But we have arrived at the Chamber of Sins. Level 1 should have a waypoint, and that's actually back in part 1, act 2. That's the one I missed because I was looking for the waypoint on level 2 and I didn't find it. So that's a interesting little thing there. So let's see what's different here. Lots of skeletons, zombies. Okay, some suture death that drop caustic clouds on death. Some lightning warpers. I think they were originally all from Piety's area. Oh, army spell. Okay, that's quite some damage coming in here. So, all these archers neatly lining up in a line to shoot at you. It makes me wonder, how incredibly cool is Arc gonna be now? Because you just hit one and it zaps the entire line of them and they will all just get hit for damage. It's perfect for Arc. Let's see, what do we have here? Cold resist. Well, we don't need more cold resists. So where did we end up last time? I made a whole nice plot in the last playthrough. Yes, yes, we were here. There, and then we can cross over and then grab some more points over there. So that's going to be a nice line of point grabbing. Then if we just grab a couple more points, then over here we got the Juggernaut. Something worth considering over here is Razor's Edge. Gets us +1 to our melee weapon range, as well as doing some increased damage and increasing the damage of a bleeding. So not entirely sure if +1 range is really worth it just by itself to go there, but no, if we're lacking for damage, this is definitely an option. Over here, it's probably better to go for the stamina and get a little bit of life regen, and over here got more resist and more life, and then finally resolute technique. Currently our chance to hit is 92%. It wasn't at 95 for a while, slowly started dropping. Oh, we're using a two-handed swords, so they do provide a decent amount of accuracy. But because I'm not investing in accuracy, because my goal is eventually to get resolute technique, over time it is gonna draw down. But for now, pick up a little bit more life. Oh, the more tanky we are, the more interesting things we can handle. Let's see. This is just some big two-handers. For now I think we're good. Okay. Over in chat, ranks are, when I think of Fellshrine Ruins, think of those unbreathing queen mobs with those deadly ice attacks. In the Fellshrine Ruins? I honestly don't remember those queens from there. I didn't think we saw the queens until Act 3 in the slums. Am I completely blanking that from my mind now? Oh wait, there was a prophecy, wasn't there, with the unbreathing queen? But yeah, not my favorite place to be. Okay, just a dead end here. Some zombos. See, that was just a dead end as well. Cool. Ooh, large box. Maybe I shouldn't have clicked it blindly. That's a very bad habit to get into. We got some extra rares, we got mirrored items, and it exploded. So, no freezing, no exploding corpses. That wasn't all that bad. Chemist, Amethyst Flask. Double, yes, of course, because mirrored. And some lightning arrows that... I don't know, the lightning arrow effect, that the lightning that strikes down, and the sound effect, it sounds like the sound effect is cut off, but I seem to remember that it always was that way. Hey, Chamber of Sins now actually has a marker. I don't think it had in Act 2. And there's a lot of spiderwebs there. And there is the waypoint. Ah, excellent. And a map device. Ooh. So it actually is working now. Over here. At level 52. Well, for the beta, of course, we start here at level 50, and if the pattern stands, then we're not going to push much further beyond level 55. So having the map device here seems useful. No, keep in mind maps are level 68 at tier 1. So there's gonna be a bit of a gap. It's gonna be interesting. I'm definitely gonna try to do some maps once we get through. So that's on the other end. It's interesting that there's an exclamation point here, probably to pull your attention towards it. Even though it's not quest related. Oh, duh, find Maligaro's map. That's how we have to use it. Okay, and that is probably going to be tied to the Felshrine Crypt. So normally if you were to go through this, actually going to the Felshrine Crypt first, picking up the map, then going here, then you can actually use it as well. Okay, that is just covered up. We need to find some kind of torch to burn away the webs. But it is interesting. There's not a lot of hints, and no, I'd expected to be able to go down there. But that is, of course, that's going to be, well, expecting it to be the silk. No, not the silk questline, the Maligaro questline. That's going to be the continued bit. Well, we'll see. These things have been relatively clear so far, and this is the first time where it's like, thought we had to go here. But maybe there is just another way through. Just double check this. There, I did see a corrupted area over there. Or is that how we're gonna tie things together? That if we resolve the Maligaro questline, then we can get into the into level 2. And now in level 2, the path that Piety takes before she teleports out, there was a door of sorts behind there. That was, well, locked. So I have to go there. So it might be that we now actually have to switch over to the Felshrine Arc. Wait, that was a... No, this is just a dead end. But first, let's do the corrupted area and then push forward. 20% physical reduction on mobs. Okay. That means we do less damage, but we have poison. Okay, mobs to damage. Let's actually switch back to tanking mode here. And make a little bit of an adjustment. Ashen Buccaneers, those are pirate ghost things. A little bit lost in a Vaal temple like this. Wonder what Vaal boss we're gonna get here. The Flash Commander would not be a weird one, I think, given the fact that we're just mowing down what you could basically see as his armies. These Vaal Fallen. Also, despite the damage mitigation, we're just plowing through pretty well. That Ziri's Pride also works. As long as you stand still, I will murder you. Yep. We will murder you. Like that. But we get sacrificed at noon. So, with the map device unlocked, of course, we could start running those fragments at some point. They do start at level 68 as well. If we're here, might as well empty
Greetings.
Let's see. Let's have a look. Bit of fire resists, no life. Intelligence, that is useful. Soak the minion gems would be good for the golem and for the war chief, but too much of a mixed bag. It's just currency. All currency to put away. This one goes in there. A couple more flasks. And let's just cut down these stacks a little bit before they start overflowing. Hey. Then it's time to go back to the crossroads and to go into the Fell Shrine ruins. It's been long enough since we were here that the area has reset. But that's alright. It's a small enough walk anyway. Let's see if anything has drastically changed here. Idolized saints and spiders. Okay, interesting. That's a... I was gonna say, that's a nice difference from all the undead. And then of course we get the devout dead. Hey, Bringer of Souls summons skeletons. Okay. This is just a regular skeleton. Okay. Hey, there's a spider. And raptured. Yes, it has a big maggot things on top. Everything's been corrupted by the parasites. All the wildlife has been subverted. And the skeletons, of course, they don't have parasites. Let's see, idolized saints, they're just statues, so of course no parasites. And they shoot burning arrow rather than explosive arrow that we saw before. But still a similar mixed bag as before. Now you got some statues, you got some undead. Now we also got some spiders. And more use of the white burning flames. That's also something that wasn't done a lot outside of the mines before. But the large trees there, shadows clipping in and out because it's just cast too far that it just unloads. Now let's just follow the road and get over to the Fell Shrine ruins. Or the Fell Shrine crypts. Oh look, it's another corrupted area. Okay. How often do you raise your skeletons? Okay, that's just 2 of them. No. Not terribly dangerous compared to some of the ones we've seen before. Let's see, can't be stunned and less recovery. Sure, we can deal with that. Okay, suddenly the music is a bit more intense than outside. A drastic contrast. Skeletal beast. Let's see, 52 area. level am I? Oh, 54, so not that far ahead. It's rather alright. I think I'll just go and just only focus on the larger packs again and just leave more of the stragglers behind in order to go through things a little quicker and to just not suck up as much XP as I otherwise might. Of course, you have to follow me. Well, we have bleeding. Hey, Sintik, the inescapable. Fancy seeing you here. Val, Rain of Arrows. Well, I'm not an archer, so that's a little less than useful. Another rare, sure. Hey, don't run away. Valorp. We don't find too many of those. So that's always a nice one. In case I wanna corrupt something. Okay, and then we are here. Oh, come on. This. What's on this?
On this day, the second Sacrato of Verusi, 1334 IC.
I think this was there as well before. Ah, there. Hey, let's see, what can we find in the crypts? Can we find something new in the crypts, or is it just gonna be the same? Okay, thanks for joining me here, Marixar. I'll see you later. Have fun in 7 Days to Die. Let's see, we have some spectral mages. Okay, looking for a rare. I don't think we're gonna find a rare. So let's burn the ghost. Yeah, exactly. That didn't quite pan out as expected. Ooh, quality. Mana flask, that's alright. Wow, what are you doing? Strike, lightning resist. Looks like a cold nova of sorts, but there's no cold damage being inflicted. Hey, Wraith, but Banshee-like with these ethereal knives. Some stuff cursing. Okay. Oh, vulnerability combined with ethereal knives is actually pretty decent. But time for the trial. Oh, but first, I spotted the box. A pack of magic monsters, 4 additional magic items, 2 additional sockets. It's lovely. And all we get is a cobalt jewel, which doesn't have sockets. Soldier Brigandine, 5 socket, but it's item base level 32, so yeah. That explains why my loot filter is hiding it. Let's try another trial. Okay. I don't have any insta flasks yet. So that's gonna be fun. Okay. There's a door there. Which only has some stuff. Okay. So far, if you don't get yourself skewered, it's relatively fine. I have a fair chunk of life regen, so that always greatly helps in a trial.
Shine boldly, so that all may find you when the night falls.
Did I miss the trial in the Act 5 or the Act 6 prison? I did. Interesting. So might have to go back for that one. Well, for now, doesn't really matter until we also get the final trial. So that's right. Ooh, what's the door in the sarcophagus? Staircase. What could be waiting for us here? This is new. Heavily inspired by the labyrinth and the archives, of course, but this is something we didn't have before. So many books. Let's see, orb of alteration. There we are. Volatile Stormblood. Yeah, here. Have yourself a totem and a golem. Like that. Let's see. Oh. Container of Sins. That sounds lovely. Also sounds very Maligaro with his Chamber of Sins. And in there we have Maligaro's map. Certain maps can only be rendered in the most vivid of viscera. Inquest to Maligaro. And then travel to the Chamber of Sins in order to use it. So that does connect some of the old pieces. And why we did have the old reliquary device thing in the Chamber of Sins, but inoperable. So that all ties together with this. Okay, why haven't you joined in? May inflict a vulnerability on hits, so that's not a guarantee, but it's just a chance. Some more poison coming in. It's nothing actually guarding the map. That was weird. Most of the time, things like that, they are guarded by a named unique. So I wonder if that's gonna get added at some point, or whether this is done as is. Okay. By the way, it seems like we have cleared the area. So let's empty your pockets and then move forward to the Chamber of Sins.
Hello.
Let's just double check. Majestic plate, it's a bit more armor, but not much. Double resists. So this is just not an upgrade. Removes poison on use. Well, if poison ever becomes an issue, at least we have a flask for it. And a lot of mana over 14 seconds. Currently we regain 210, so that's 21 mana per second. Here it's going to be closer to 80 mana per second. That's a pretty massive amount. So let's just stash
your
it in
life to
case
your own.
mana becomes an issue. 'Cause right now it doesn't really feel like it's an issue. And I didn't have a box yet for jewels. So pick another color for those. Okay. Time to go back to where we were. Chamber of Sins. Silk, what? We have woven a tale together in days past. Perhaps we shall again. We make mighty stories, you and I. And now I have a daunting task before me. The last in my great journey. Near to us, cast in shadow, a monster awaits. Black Death is his name. A beauteous 8-leg, twisted grotesque by the master of these loathsome halls. I wish to give this 8-leg the merciful peace he deserves, and to save what is still beautiful, the elixir that only Black Death can make. Please, will you find him? Kill this Black Death. Take this 8-leg's venom for me. I may be fearsome warrior, but Black Death's master has made him into a thing more monstrous than even I can best. Who knows? Perhaps Black Death is too strong, even for you. Okay. That's a little odd. Silk having gone missing and then just popping up here next to the waypoint. So. Black Death. I have climbed the great 8-leg web. I know the 8-leg like no other. This 8-leg, this Black Death, is one of the oldest and most fearsome 8-legs in all this land and beyond. To its shame, it was made pet, plaything, but the malicious master of this place. By the malicious master of this place, I suppose. For years, countless, it grew in pain. Pain is all it knew, all it can understand, all it can give. And Black Death's pain, for all and once. Okay. Did it get more removed? Because I think I slew it back in Act 2. Because I think I remember remarking upon it that it was now in a square room rather than in this round center room. Okay, Silk's journey. My great journey led me to places of great power beyond even your stories, great dreamer. I am carried on wings and webs and shadows. That is all you can know for now. Still speaks in mysteries, in riddles. So open Maligaro's map and find the black venom. And use Maligaro's map in his map device. So now we have two things converging on the map device here. So let's activate. Into Maligaro's Sanctum. So we have almost like we only have a couple tries here. Maligaro's Sanctum, level 52. Looks rather creepy. Find Maligaro and kill him, and also search for Maligaro's Sanctum for the black venom. And some scorpion mobs. They do extra fire damage, that's why their stingers glow red. Okay, strongbox. Summon skeletons, 3 rare mobs, 7 additional items, 2 additional rare items, and revives nearby mobs with onslaught. Okay. A lot of violence going on here, but ultimately manageable. So many skulls. Hybrid arachnids. definitely an interesting setting. A bit like the marshes in this regard with the bridges. Though less marshy. Dying inductors. So yeah, interesting mix of mobs. It's on some level it's similar to just running maps where you get some weird combinations of mobs that just seem plucked from some random areas. But of course, if this is Maligaro's sanctum, then it is nearly a map, right? There's no remaining counter up here, so it's not technically a map. That's the interesting bit about that. Okay. So I'm going to just trying to stick to one of the coasts and just pushing forward. Nope, not being overly familiar with the area yet. No idea if that's the correct strategy or not. It could be that clearing a area before crossing over the bridge to the next one might be more optimal. But for now, we'll just run around a bit and we'll see. Okay, left hand wall once again leads us further to the next island. And there... Oh, I was gonna say, there's a building, but it's just a wall. The rest of the building seems to be a bit collapsed. Due to the changes in bleeding. Oh, if you're walking while bleeding, you'd only take double bleeding damage rather than 6 times the bleeding damage. And as such, it's not as potent as it used to be. Not as dangerous as it used to be either. And there we have Maligaro's workshop. But we're now in the sanctum, and that's where we find the black venom. So indeed, we have to backtrack a little bit here for the venom. So Black Death is probably going to be a mini boss here of sorts, though would have been an interesting one to just guard the entrance rather than being randomly here somewhere. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, so it turns out what I was speculating, doing full clears of the islands rather than pushing forward to the next one, is probably going to be the best way to deal with Maligaro's sanctum. Now the islands being rather narrow, it's actually not that big a deal. Oh, Jade Flask, might as well pick it up. And this was also a rather small island actually, so there's not even that much going on. So doing full clears is not even that punishing. Also, if we can't find a unique boss here and we don't find anything indicating on the map, then we might actually have to push forward to the next area for this Black Death as well. We'll see. The journey of discovery, it's enjoyable. Just to see things for the first time. So that's where to speculate about what could be, not knowing the answers yet. Now once you've played through all the content and you know where to find certain bosses, certain mechanics, certain things, then part of the speculation disappears. And all you're left with is the things you already know. So this very first run through, I do enjoy it a lot. But that's it. I believe I basically uncovered every little bit of these maps, and I don't see a Black Death anywhere. Nor do I see anything lying about. So, a reasonable conclusion to draw here would be that Black Death is indeed inside rather than outside. There's a temp change. Okay. Let's see. Inquisitor Maligaro. No, hello, no taunts, just business. Of course, this guy does chaos damage, or at least does a lot of chaos damage, hence purple. Oh, hello, Black Death. Haha, it's a mechano spider. I want one. I want one as a pet. God. Having one of these things following you around, even if it's at half the size, that would be so awesome. Okay, I think we murdered the spider. Hello? Ah, there. Fidelitas. Loyalty undying. And then, wait. We suddenly get a Maligaro in there. Okay, this is getting nice and hectic. Also, what's up with the bubble? Okay. But so far, this seems alright. I think the Chevron fight was a little more hectic. Of course, I have a habit of, the moment I say things like that, then I get killed, but here it's alright. We have the black venom. The spider is not defined by how it lives, but by how it kills. And our buddy Sin has returned to swallow yet another soul. A brutal construction near completion, and now the north wind brings me the wretched stink of Dweidre Darktongue. Unlike her compeers who, in Undeath, have yearned for the familiar, Dweidre appears drawn to the old wounds of calamity. The cataclysm took Sarn and left much that a parasite like Dweidre might enjoy. I shall meet you in Sarn, where I hope you shall make swift and bloody work of that foul hag. Okay. But, of course, I don't think we have that in the beta just yet, because that would be Act 8. So we'll have to wait a little longer for that. Oh, Silk, he is watching, he's waiting. The Black Venom. Oh, great dreamer, who has done great deeds. I shall see to it that my queen rewards you with honor and mercy when she rises up to claim what is hers. Yes, this elixir, so aged and potent, shall be life-giving draught that she sips upon first waking. It is my gift to her, my wedding gift. Great dreamer, you be wrapped in silken finery and made welcome at our wedding feast. Guest of honor, and oh, what a feast we all shall enjoy. Slightly creepy. We got a nice obsidian key from him. The cool blanket of shadows preserves our treasures. So before we push forward, let's go to, I was gonna say to town, but why do I click the crossroads? Because it looks like town, because it's in the middle of everything. Town is over there. Okay, everybody has something to say, so let's have it. Ermir, you go first. What? He's intending to make matrimony with Arakaali. My word, that's quite a story, even for Silk. Yes, I know that name, and the place to which it is purportedly attached. A temple to the north, now in ruins. Silk intends unholy congress with this Arakaali. That is the most likely place we would seek it. Unfortunately, Arakaali's temple lies beyond that which now belongs to Ralakesh. To reach the many-legged goddess, you must first draw to some conclusions with the many-faced gods. From what I can recall, Arakaali was a vile fertility goddess, rather unsettling union of sexuality and mortality. Whilst unusually presenting herself as a arachnid, Arakaali would often assume a human form, a ruse intended to lure mortals into the act of copulation. The entries were vague about the gender of her prey. After satiating her carnal desires, she would then quench her divine thirst, draining her erstwhile lover of all bodily fluids. Her acolytes would then collect the desiccated husk and give it a decorative placement inside Arakaali's unholy temple. I feel that Silk now knows the true nature of the marriage he so desperately seeks. He not know the true nature. Okay. Yeah. Couldn't see that one coming. Gina.
What you tell me of Silk, this I understand, though I do not want to. I have spent many nights pondering Silk's journey, why he has stepped from the spirit path. Now I know. He has walked into the 8 arms of blind lust, Arakaali. Silk is a warning to us all. He is trying to take the short trail to greatness, to the story Spirit has made for him. Silk tries to steal his story, but now he holds only a lie. Please, you must find the place where this Arakaali sleeps in her web of shadow. You must stop Silk before he wakes her, a mistake that we all will come to regret. The Spirit tells me this is so.
Okay, what else do you have to say about Arakaali?
I have asked questions of Spirit, and it has answered in dreams that wake me with screaming. Arakaali will suck all life from this land, leave only empty husks and dusty bones. There will be no spirit, no us, no thing left to love and laugh. Only husks and dust and Arakaali.
Arakaali. Does not sound like a good thing to allow, so let's not. Let's stop this Arakaali before things get out of hand.
One less twisted intellect perverting our world. There is still much to be done, but at least we can rest easier in the knowledge that Maligaro and his foul creations will trouble Rayclast no longer. Here. I know that you and Groost didn't see eye to eye, but I'm sure he would have wanted to recognize this deed. It's the act of a warrior, after all.
And that gets us new boots. Cool. Are they any good? A little bit dex, a little bit armor, a little bit evasion, well, a very, very little bit, and a little bit of movement speed. So, suffice to say, this is just rubbish. Thanks, but no thanks. And we'll just stash the things away. And then we can push forward. One obsidian key. Will Venom and Sin have anything to say about these topics? Ooh, Arakaali. A temptress and a predator. Vile legends say she crawled up from the blackest of pits during the creation of the world. Truth is, she was mortal once, just like you. A harlot whose lust for loin and lecherous delights saw her transformed into the image of her dark desires. The spinner of shadows, they once called her. She sees herself as a regular goddess of love, yet there's little romance to be found in her company. At least, I doubt the corpses that now embrace her carapace would think so. Following the call of a royal invitation, I visited the Spinner of Shadows as an emissary of the gods. At this time, the seductive queen ruled an empire and invited me to look upon her mighty works and wonder at her power. If I'd looked past the pretense, I might have chanced to see her hidden desires to have me share her bed. For 9 years I lay trapped in her webbed sheets. Some days she enjoyed my prowess, other days we enjoyed each other. But I was not free to leave, and so I struggled under her bewitching spells, till the day that Spider was betrayed by her own devotees and cast into the pit in which she now resides. Okay, that seems a little ominous.
Good to see you still kicking. If you're thinking about dying.
Whalem has nothing to say about treacherous gods and spider queens. The orientation of the map device didn't have the entrance on this side. No, I guess this just randomly rotates. Doesn't matter. Let's look for the staircase that was blocked to us before. But first, let's level up after dealing with the mobs nearby. Maybe I should actually hit this one. It's just a little bit more life for a little bit more safety. Let's take a step outside. Exactly. Okay, well, it's gonna be in the box here. 3 additional rares, 2 additional sockets, 5 levels. Wow. Oh wow, 2 6-socketed items. Not items that, of course, I want to use, but they're 6-socketed items nonetheless, and therefore they will be turned into jeweler orbs and applied to good use. Look, another corrupted side area. Monsters have increased fire resistance in the secret laboratory. Well, being mostly physical based, I don't really object. So 53, I'm 55. Well, again, let's just move through at a bit more rapid pace than I normally would. Okay, if they're physically body blocking me, then I guess I'll just have to cave in and murder them all. Looking for whatever is going to be the boss down here. I do like the setup here. Also the overkill damage that just via the Herald of Ash causes some explosions. It works. And we're facing down at Serious Pride, like we've done a couple times before. Question is the Vaal vessel gonna contain a Vaal lightning trap this time? It doesn't. We get a sacrifice at noon instead. That's alright though. Many more opportunities. Okay. So the last time the map device pointed towards the entrance. Maybe it does again this time. So in that case, the device was pointing this direction. So no, rather than it being an absolute direction, it might be pointed at by the map device. And it looks like it is, because I do see an entrance in the top right of the map. Yes. And the spiderweb is gone, so that's probably a signal as well. Okay, use the obsidian key to access the den. That's probably going to be in the back. And we have the main quest, find Arakaali's temple, save Silk. Which of course is going to be the end boss of Act 7. Oh, before I rush towards the exit, of course, there used to be a trial somewhere here. And I have no reason to assume that the trial is not still going to be here. So just thinking about things a little bit more, especially considering how the lines are drawn and how we have the remnants of cruel and merciless that now have to be kind of divided a little bit across the new setup. Hello there. We only need 3 different trials to get the cruel equivalent of the labyrinth. And after that there's going to be another 3 for the merciless equivalent. Well, actually I think it's currently just 1, but it might be just related to the beta. Of course, let's see, you can jump over there. Like that, like that. That's the way back. But here, this is now the regular cruel trial. It's nothing new, nothing special. Done this one before. But if now just doing 3 of them allows us entrance into the cruel lab to ascend. And then doing the other 3 in basically, if that would be the same previous locations as...
There is a fine line between consideration and hesitation. The former is wisdom, the latter is fear.
Okay. So words difficult. But if it's going to be 3 and 3, then I wonder if they might draw some other lines in those places. Well, maybe having the second resistance penalty being applied at the end of Act 8, for example. Though I can imagine defeating Kitava for the second time at the end of Act 10, assuming it's going to be Kitava. Or no, Sin in its ultimate form having swallowed up the soul of all the gods. Hey, it could happen. Then after that, maybe getting another 30%. That would be a nice thematic break after the storyline, similar in the place where Kitava caused it. And that would actually make a difference between the normal gameplay normal playthrough of the game and when you start mapping. No, as I said, no, at the end of Act 8 would be interesting as well. Arsonist Grip. Thank you and goodbye. And now, the secret passage into the den. Hey, hello Gopi. Nice to see you. Build's coming along fine. Playing in the level of in Act 7 right now. And the build is as solid as it has ever been. Ooh. Tunnel drop bears. Infested tunnel drop bears. Okay. Seriously, those parasites, they are everywhere. Yeah, no, the gear we just did an upgrade, so we actually have a decent two-handed weapon. We've got Viper Strike now supported with a 4-link. Damage output 3200 damage is, well, quite an improvement of what we used to do. And something was poisoning me, but no longer. It's probably those parasites. Ooh, and a waypoint. So let's empty our pockets. And then we can push forward. Looking forward to kicking Ghost's butt.
Greetings.
Let's see, it's a 4-link, 6 sockets, so they just get sold for currency. Just double checking, cause... Yeah, because I'm kind of on the path of boosting swords, so switching to, let's say, a noble axe wouldn't be entirely right here. And none of these are the types I need. Okay. Go currency. Of course, no, building it up only to lose it again with a character wipe. There's not too much point in building up large stockpiles. There we are now. Let's see, there's a torch here that suggests maybe this is the direction to go to. The devs are usually fond of small cues like that to help you find your way. Also interesting, we just did the 3rd trial, so I have to go back to Act 1. But the question is, of course, what level is the 2nd lab gonna be? Because I think historically it was level 55, right, before in on 2.6. So there's an exit there, and then there's a bunch of space here. Okay, doesn't matter. So what if after doing the Chamber of Sins and Crypt Trials and having done the Bandits thing, you just simply go back to the plaza and get yourself your 2nd ascendancy. Around level 55, then you're doing it slightly under-leveled, but if you manage to do it, then you can face down Arakaali with a 2nd mastery. So in our case... wait, I remember this. So we have Endless Hunger. I thought that also granted the immune to bleeding effect, but that's only at Brutal Fervor. That makes so much more sense. But this is definitely gonna boost our life leech even further, though a very interesting second choice could also be to go for impact here to get splash damage on all your melee attacks for free. So then both Viper Strike as well as Puncture both get a melee splash for free, and we can add a damage modifier to Puncture. So that could be interesting. Thinking a little bit about the level design. If there's a weird room off to the side here, maybe it has a purpose. Let's veer off course for a little bit and have a quick look. See if there's something fun here. Some regular mobs, that's alright. Boy Chief went up. Interesting, there is a hole in the ground here. But it might just be purely decorative. What's up here? Just a dead end as well, or is there actually something in here? Iron Root, a rare. It's again an odd bit of level design, or just a fluke of how the level just got randomized. I can imagine having the entrance at the end of a cave like this would make sense, but having a branching cave network after you already discovered the exits out of the area seems like weird generation of the area. So we'll see. Okay, so now we're in the Ashen Fields, previously the farmlands. So let's see. Get you bleeding, get you fortified. Okay, so this is indeed what we saw from the other side when we walked past, though then the wall actually extended. Let's actually bleed you and then start poisoning you. Yeah, much better. Got some damage taken, stone golem. Okay, everything is going up. Up. Groost's horn. Okay. I think those archer types had a different name before. I think they were the stag acolytes or something like that. Now it all gets a little bit personal. Okay. Hey, and Tora is seemingly here in a place that we had to put a lot of effort in to actually gain access to. Tora, have you been following me, or do you have insider connections and could you have helped me out? I'm starting to get a little suspicious of Tora.
Over here, Exile.
There you are. Okay, kill some vermin. I think we can do that. And what's in the box? What's in the box? Quantity of items, rares, quality, so nothing truly scary. So we'll just take a step back, put down the totem, and start murdering. Oh, alchemy. Ooh, footman's sword. I think the base is a step down from what we have, isn't it? Yeah, this is a much lower version. Also, the damage is pretty rubbish, but it's a chrome, so we'll keep it. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see. Ooh, question from chat. Please tell me the playstyle of this build. Well, that's a fair question actually, because I haven't done a theorycraft video for this specific build. Because of course, theory crafting for a beta that has a lot of unknowns doesn't make a lot of sense. So the core part of the build is that I want to see how poison and bleed mechanics work. And so far the conclusion is that if you don't scale them, then the damage of poison and bleed is pretty low. But using Viper Strike as a single target skill and using Puncture with Melee Splash as my area of effect skill, clear skill. And the thing, Melee Splash also has life gain on hit, so if I'm surrounded by mobs, the life gain on hit is really good for keeping my life bulb filled to the brim with life. And Viper Strike is just currently linked with some damage mods and multi-strike. Another achievement. So, playstyle is rather simple. We're just trying to get surrounded by a large group of mobs. Then we use Puncture to apply bleeding to everything. We also have the life gain on hit. We have Fortify. So, we have the area. We set stuff bleeding. We fortify ourselves. And then because the targets are bleeding, Viper Strike is linked with a Bloodlust, which is a pretty strong more damage multiplier that works as the target is bleeding. So the hits there are much more powerful. And so as some support we have... wait, what is that? Oh, Shrouded Ones. What are you thinking? Wait, is that a new monster type? But they're simply Shrouded Ones. But they are also accompanied by my least favorite heralds of the obelisk. So let's just walk around a little bit and murder everything. Yeah. So actually maybe it's just better to do a quick overview. So Viper Strike, melee physical, Bloodlust and multi-strike just allows us to do relatively quick attacks and start the stack the poison on foes. Though without support, poison is not the strongest of mods. Puncture, melee splash, life gain on hit, and fortify. So this is a utility and very, very defensive. Then leap slam with faster attacks for movement. Ancestral War Chief to boost our damage and to have a way of dealing with physical damage reflection. Cast when damage taken has Molten Shell and Stone Golem attached to it. It's just leveling as I go, but it helps to keep the golem up, and it helps to every once in a while get me some extra armor and to do some extra damage there. So it's just a nice little bonus. And Herald of Ash, a little extra damage, and the explosions from Overkill help us deal better with packs. Enduring Cry, and then as an aura we have Blasphemy with Temp Change to just slow things down. So basically it's a rather tanky setup with a little bit of damage over time, and as I have done in the past, I'm using bleeding mostly as a status effect to trigger other useful things instead of really using it for the damage. And yesterday, before stream, I did talk a little bit more extensively about things. Basically, for a damage over time build, there are now 2 different paths that you can walk. One of the paths is basically just ignoring it, or treating it as a small bonus, but not really focusing on it. Because almost none of the ways to scale the damage of your sword attacks affect the bleeding or the poison damage now. So instead, if you want to scale poison or bleeding, you really explicitly have to scale those damage types. So on the skill tree, there's 2 clusters. There's one for poison and bleeding as a hybrid. There's one for bleeding by itself. Those are the ones that you use to scale the damage. And then on your links, added chaos damage is actually one of the few ways that you, one of the few things that you can link with your melee attack to increase the base damage of the poison that gets inflicted. But besides that, for scaling poison, you just want to get insanely high attack speed, so that the high attack speed allows you to apply more stacks of poison, and that is how you can scale poison damage. For bleeding, there's probably a reason that there's more bleeding nodes on the skill tree, because you cannot scale bleeding with attack speed, because only the highest damage stack that is applied to a mob counts for applying damage. So yeah, faster attacks just means you get more opportunities per second to see if you can surpass the previous high damage. Just double checking, but I think we cleared most of this. Let's see. Question. How long is beta gonna last? Beta, I think it's gonna last for another 6 or so weeks. The release being close to, I think, somewhere in July. But I think the devs haven't really pinned themselves down on any fixed date. They hope to have the beta last for 6 weeks, but it might as well be lasting longer. And the new keystone, that is Perfect Agony, it makes critical damage multipliers also apply to ailments, because normally it doesn't. And your normal hits have 25% less damage. So it used to be under the old mechanics that currently are still on the live server, that though you inflict a hit, and then the damage over time damage is based upon the damage of the hit. So if you hit with a critical strike, then the damage is going to be more, and therefore the damage over time is going to be more. Now, if you crit, bleeding is still going to be the same, poison is still going to be the same, because it's not affected by the crit. The Perfect Agony changes it so that it actually will get affected by it. Let's see, Fortress Encampment. So this is gonna be the fight with Groost and his Rakshasa something god. Let's see how it goes. Hello everybody. Hey, this looks familiar. Don't we have a custom totem that looks like it? So here we have Groost bandits. There's some folk standing there using a rain of arrows. Damage. Not terribly impressive. Let's just stand there and do nothing for a little bit just to see how bad it is. So we are under the effect of bleeding for most of the time here. There's a little bit of decay going on. But they just can't break through my passive tank here. So that's 4000 armor as well as 200 life regenerated per second. Okay. Let's see if we actively try to murder them if we get something more exciting in this fight. Groost, Lord of the Forest. So, you make me bleed, I make you bleed. And then poison all over the place. Okay. But this fight feels horribly underpowered. Though I think this is also something I remember someone else saying, so makes sense. Hey, Sin, how are you doing today? You're draining the soul out of the statue. And suddenly all the bandits have disappeared. Okay. Let's see, there we have Sin. When you try to control everything, you ultimately control nothing. Ralakesh has never quite been able to grasp that concept. And that unlocks Soul of Ralakesh. 30% chance to avoid bleeding. 30% chance to avoid stacks of corrupted blood. And if you defeat Litanius, the Black Prayer, 40% chance to reduce 40% reduce blind effect on you and 40% chance to avoid maim. So that's a way of escaping some of the more difficult to get rid of things. Though corrupting blood has historically been relatively easy to cleanse, but no, if you don't want to have a staunching flask, the Soul of Ralakesh might be useful. But compared to some of the other souls, it feels a little underpowered. Why is this hovering? Why is this glowing? Okay, cool. Do you have anything else to say? Nope. Okay. Then the way forward will go. So let's just apply our ups and then go to the northern forest. Got a suspicion there's going to be a waypoint by the entrance. Exactly. And we can go back to town and have a chat with people. So, for those tuning in, Ralakesh, one of the gods, basically possessed Groost via a statue that he found, and that's why Groost became a bad guy, and that's why he needed to die. In this case, what does Ermir have to say? You truly are a hero of the modern age, succeeding where even the ancient Vaal could not. I must say, I'm really quite relieved. For a while there I feared we were headed towards another theocratic dictatorship. Exile allowed me to be free of one. I had no wish to experience another. You deserve to be rewarded for your efforts. Here, something with a little insight would suit your purpose nicely. Ooh, Book of Skill. I like it. Right, so the last couple levels we spent some time picking up more life here. Life pool is pretty decent right now. And so something I talked about a bit earlier is we're not really doing a lot with scaling our poison damage, and that is something that I do want to change. So over here, Dirty Techniques is one of the primary, well, let's scratch that. This is the only way on the tree, at least in the bottom here, to scale poison damage. So increase damage with poison and bleeding, increase damage with poison and bleeding, increased damage and duration of poison and bleeding, and guess what? More poison and bleed duration. So with this, we can apply stacks of poison that do both more damage as well as last a lot longer. So we can do more poison damage that way. And I figured with our life and resist in a relatively okay state, let's focus on scaling our poison a little bit and see if we can explore if that is going to be a good mechanic or not to use.
Yes, I thank you. Though I loved him, I know Groost was lost to me the very moment he touched that vile abomination. I will weep over his passing for many more nights to come, but I am happy that you avenged his honor and freed him from his torment. There's an Asmeri shrine tucked away in the northern forest. Groost took me there, told me it was a memorial to those who had gone before him, a place where their spirits could rest. When he passed, he wanted his remains to be laid to rest with the bones of his people. His body, I find it difficult to even think about it, but I doubt it will ever be recovered. Yet there might still be a way. He gave me his necklace, the fangs he earned when he rose from boyhood to manhood, handed it to me for safekeeping only moments before Relakesh. It's almost as if he knew what was to come. Please, could you deliver this necklace to the shrine for me? Put Groost's spirit to rest? I would do it myself, but the journey to the northern forest is not what it was. These lands have changed, and not for the better.
Okay, Groost's necklace. A boy becomes a man when he has faced the animal in his heart and wet the forest floor with its blood. Asmeri proverb. Okay, let's empty our pockets and then move forward once again. Glyph gloves, that's potentially an upgrade if and only if we manage to craft something nice out of it. That seems to be relatively okay in terms of level. So sure, let's take a stab at improving this. Or do we have an essence to spare? Gloves would add a little bit of physical damage. That is a prefix, would come at the cost of some potential defensive mods. Though we're not really relying on anything here with the exception of maybe some life. This one on gloves would add cold damage to attacks. Might as well use this. Let's see what we can get out of it. And poor life roll, no resists. Then everything else is moot. Oh,
hello.
I tried. And with that, let's continue the hunt and let's go after Arakaali. Okay, there's some branching point here. There's a temple and there is something off to the side. Ah, that's the shrine in the northern forest. Ah, is that the thing that used to have the bugged fireflies that I read about? Possible. Also, it's not as dark anymore as it usually is when you enter the northern forest, because of course most of the time when you are in the northern forest, that is after you have unleashed the darkness in Act 2. And I must admit I never really come back to the northern forest after killing the vile oversoul. So I do a little bit more damage with poison and bleeding. Though, let's see, main hand, oh, this is here. Bleeding damage, 100 to 200 damage per second, and poison is 40 to 80 damage per stack. Though at, what is it? 3 attacks per second, we're applying 3 stacks per second. So effectively the damage is tripled. And the more we attack, the more poison we stack on top. The defaults under Viper Strike, poison lasts for 8 seconds rather than the default of 4, because Viper Strike is awesome that way. So no 3 attacks per second times 8 seconds gives us 24 stacks of poison. So if we then take the 50 to 80 damage per second, no, that's going to be averaging to about 65 damage per average stack. If you multiply that by 24, then I think we're going towards something like 1500 DPS. That's fairly okay. I think that's about half of the DPS I do with my normal attacks. Well, small correction there. It's not half the damage because I still get 40% more damage against bleeding targets. So in reality we're doing closer to 4,500 DPS here. And hello there, Dread Ticket. It's been a long time since I set foot in here. Luckily, Vegan has found his way here.
Your ear for a moment.
So before we focus on the fireflies, let's kill Vegan. Or best Vegan. We're not killing him. Not really killing him. Okay, bleeding and then Mario. Well, sort of, kinda. Man, I thought I had decent regen, but he's got even more of it. Okay. So, that was a very, very small interlude. Vegan missions are very nice like that. Can we interact with the fireflies yet? Yes, there's a firefly. I picked it up. Cool. Ah, you need to click it and then you can pick it up. Okay. And then eventually there's going to be a point at which it will be clear why I'm picking up fireflies. Let's see, it's warm. It is the warmth that draws you ever inwards. Okay. Oh, there's actually multiple ones. In all things living, the light burns bright. A passionate fire that consumes the heart. Gold of the organ, green of the throat, red of the vein. It is the warmth that draws you ever inward. Okay, so there's actually just a couple of unique fireflies with unique text. Hello there, tormented blasphemer. And ooh, the Dreadstone. That's a chaos elemental that does chaos damage, which I'm not entirely properly resisting yet. And it has been possessed by a ghost. Lovely. Well, once I get going, not even a Dreadstone can stop me. Where rest the truest colors of life. I got a suspicion we might have to arrange these in some kind of order or something when we assert it, because it looks like a poem of sorts. Okay. Totem. Ah, okay. Interesting. Just a random curse totem. Well, again, there have been an increased use of curses and also spell totems and such, so it doesn't really come as a surprise to see it. It's just I haven't seen it before. Also some storm bearers, so let's just step out of the way. The myriad wet rainbow of the spirit's domain. The spirit, it radiates not from above. Okay, deliver the fireflies to Gina. Okay. There's a door here, there's a portal there. Okay, there is something with the Den of Despair. Nothing is sending us there, so let's actually go back to Gina and have a quick look. Let's see what she has to say about the fireflies.
You are like the frog that strikes the fly faster than I can see. No, carry your bright bags to Arakaali's gate. We will meet there and brew our fire dew. Not here. Too much to burn. Too many to make blind.
Okay. That's unrelated to Groose then.
Groose hunted too far from the lands of spirit and fell prey to a spiritless one. I am sad at how he passed. An ugly death. Yet I am thankful that he suffers no more. That he has now found his way back to the spirit. That he can rest now.
Okay. Dex and int and everything else is rubbish. So that's just nice to stash. Okay, we now have a nice collection of fireflies. Yeah, so we kind of overshot our goal here for a little bit because fireflies we have to bring there. There's Memory of Ghost is there. Okay, so then the Den of Despair might be another god that we haven't considered yet. It could be on par with Arakaali, no, not Arakaali, but Aberrath, who was also a god on the sidelines. So let's have a look. What is in the Den of Despair? Well, after that one blows. Ooh. Yes. Grafkul, Mother of Despair. Okay. Okay, make a blades. True test here is, of course, can we tank everything? So far, so good. Oh, we get some despair counters. But, of course, I can't properly mouse over those things in the fight if I'm also trying to attack. Okay. So far, got enough life leech and energy. Whoa, enough leech to tank through it. I was gonna say, what does it do? Takes more damage and have that reduced light radius. Okay. So yeah, the more charges you have on you, the worse it is. And even if you're rather tanky, taking more damage makes it more difficult to tank. I suspect if you're not a very tanky character, this fight is gonna be pretty horrible for, let's say, glass cannon type casters. So yeah, bring your own decoy totem. That's basically the whole idea there. The tragedy is that our world, our kind, may turn something as pure and honorable as a mother's love into such a vicious weapon of wrath and butchery. I only hope that Grafkul will dream of her children, alive and happy in her arms. That's another minor thing here. 5% chance to evade attacks if you've taken a savage hit recently, which is a hit that removes at least 15% of your maximum life. 1% physical damage reduction for each hit you've taken recently, up to a maximum of 5%. If you defeat Leech's Garhole, enemies that have hit you with an attack recently have 10% reduced attack speed. Okay, interesting. So this is another defensive soul. Well, they're all defensive souls, but this is more focused on combat mechanic and evading attacks and physical damage. Because currently we are using the Soul of Tukahama. For standing still, we gain physical damage reduction, so standing and making our fight really works for us in our current strategy. But if you're a bit more nimble, a bit more moving, then the Soul of Grafkul is definitely not a bad one. And now by slowing the attacks of things that attack you, you get a better chance of making it out. Or no, then they get less head hits in, so that is gonna be better for your life. Okay, so Ermir is gonna be happy about this, but for now, let's have a look for the shrine where to deliver Groost's necklace. Okay, let's see, 53 area, I'm 56, so I'm slightly over leveled. If I consider that I'm not even doing full clears and I'm already slightly over leveled, then yeah. If you're doing full clears, you're going to be massively over leveled and you'll have a much easier time with everything. As Merry Shrine. Is that a bear head? Instructions. Insert hand into the bear's mouth. Or click it and nothing happens. Okay. Speak with Helena. What was that all about? First, Ermir. So, the grieving mother sleeps once more. Her story has come to fascinate me, and your conquest of her makes for a satisfying, dramatic climax, don't you think? I'm but an old man, living vicariously through your life. As history seems intent on repeating itself, I shall record it in a book. A historical account of the goddess Grafkul and the legendary champion who defeated her. Yes, the title needs a bit of work, but it will suffice for now. Here, consider this offering as an advance on the royalties we shall reap post-publication. That is, if there's anyone in Rayclast who can read. Another skill point. Nice. So increased damage. Even more increased damage with our damage over time effects. So our poison is now inflicting nearly 50 to 100 damage per stack. Where our bleeding from puncture is inflicting 115 to 230 damage. Which is not really gonna get much better.
I feel I have failed my poor Groost, not being able to return his bones to the resting place of his people. Still, we have done all we could, considering the circumstances. Groost was a practical man at heart, he would understand. You deserve our thanks. Here are some of Groost's most treasured possessions. I'm sure he would have wanted you to have one.
Okay. So this... Oh, actually max rolled amulets. Now there is a precious gift. Much better than what the Gemling Queen used to give in Solar's Temple. Though that said, doesn't really stack up. We get more accuracy, that prolongs things a little bit, get some rarity, which might be helpful in just finding better items. So let's test this. Can we actually use this without losing any skills? Yes, we can. Okay. So hit chance is now 94% rather than 92%. That of course by proxy increases our damage per second because we're whiffing less often. We lose a tiny fraction of armor, but that's alright. And well, the cast speed was never actually interesting. Okay, and we can probably craft something on top here. So let's put this one in the old gearbox. Put it over there maybe. And have a look. Not good base. Int and fire, but yeah. Okay, so flasks go. Hello. Other things get sold. And Blasphemy is ready to level up. And I still have my collection of fireflies. So I think the Northern Forest waypoint was the furthest point we've gotten to here, so we can just continue and move forward. Roughly in the direction of the ruins though. The graphics seem to indicate the temple is now over water, so it might be that there's going to be a bridge of sorts that we'll have to cross rather than the ruins we'll have to enter. I mean, it would be an interesting different twist on things to not have to go into the caverns where we've been, but to just sidestep it a little bit. Bunch of treacherous deserters. Some of them are even heartless deserters. And of course the night adders are still night adders. Nothing really changed there. Another ghost. Let's see if we can kill it this time. Hey! A bridge across water. That almost sounds like what I was telling about. Cool. The causeway. Okay, let's see how this is gonna go. Azure Walker.
You
Leech is over there.
Moment of your time.
What do you want me to kill?
Send this malcontent a message.
Keep the target on low life for 8 seconds. Okay, we can do that. Ooh, artillery things. Hello there. Ancient Century Apparatus. Oh, and we got an all. That's the Wild Slash. Well, I'm using two-handed swords, so it's not useful for me. But it is the second of claws I found so far. Second unique claw, that is. Also have a Mortem Morsu lying about somewhere. So maybe another character could be claw using shadow of sorts. Oh, that's it. We'll just see what I'm gonna do with this beta. Whether starting another character would be useful or simply sticking with one and seeing how far we can push this. What's the mapping experience is going to be like, if there's going to be new maps. So things like that would be interesting to discover. Okay, waypoint on the causeway here. And we're still looking for a rogue exile to keep on low life rather than murder. I think Silk was still pointing me in this direction, so I hope I haven't overshot. It's 4-link battle lamellar. That's a potential upgrade. So let's bring that along. Okay, and yeah. So far, doesn't really matter what kind of mobs surround me. Their combined damage output is not strong enough to just beat through life regeneration combined with life on hit. It's I'm actually really surprised by just how tanky this build is. Positively surprised, of course. Let's see. Other ghosts. There. Let's see if we can chase it into something. Unfortunately, I don't think so. We are most vulnerable when we're moving around, by the way, because if we just keep getting hit but we're not regaining our life, that is when problems occur. Okay, so Okay, let's just stop attacking, because otherwise the degen is gonna kill you. Come on, stay alive. 3, 2, 1. Phew. Okay. That was a close call. And now we have a tier 3 for Richie as well. Okay, and ooh, essence. So let's just mop up a little bit more here and then move forward to the exclamation point, which indicated progress. We are getting very close to Arakaali, I think. And that said, might be some extra areas that we have to wade through first, because that is how it went with the Brine King as well yesterday. Okay, and just some random trash mobs, that's alright. Kishara's lockbox. What's in there? Kishara's star. To the wily Kishara's eye, a star brighter than the sun. So now suddenly Whalem has something to say about that, so let's have a look. Let's have a see. But first, let's empty pockets.
Greetings.
Greetings. Let's see, anything else that's potentially for sale? Ooh, that's decent life, 1 resist. We lose some cold resist, we lose movement, so nope, let's not do that. This one I think I mentioned it was potentially a crafting base. And here we have just another rubbish old ring. Okay. Oh, that makes it easy. Stash and continue. Let's see, this is potentially to use. Kishara star, that means we have to chat with Whalem. Whalem. There.
So, this is Kishara's famed star. Just as I reckoned. It won't point me in any one direction. It can't make up its mind. I suspect due to me not being able to make up mine. I feel a tremor of prophecy coming over me, like some scallywags just stomped over my grave. If I go see Lily, there's to be only disappointment and sorrow. Well, if that's what the future has in store, then it can keep it. I wish a long and vibrant life for the girlie. One free of the trouble that an old dead buccaneer like I might bring upon her.
Okay. That was completely random. But at least we got a skill point. Increased damage with poison and 50% increased duration of poison and bleed effects. So the 8 seconds of Viper Strike is now 12 seconds. And for Puncture, I think bleeding was 5 seconds. That's 7.5. Let's see, there. But of course, because I have my temporal change aura, effects expire slowly on enemies. And as such, bleed and poison last even longer and therefore do more damage. But for now, let's go to the Vaal City. That sounds like a map we've been to in the past. Okay. We're getting close. Wonder how many sub-levels and side areas there will be before we face Arakaali, but I don't think we'll have to go very far. It's a 54 area, I'm 56, so only 2 levels over leveled. Also makes me the same level as any unique we would encounter here. I think, yeah, see there's one more room, that's probably going to be the Arakaali boss room, similarly to how the Brine King had his own one as well. Hey, a decimation bow. Infractum, cannot leech life, increased physical damage, dex, accuracy, arrows always pierce, and increased movement speed. Interesting. Very interesting. If you can't leech life, then would that be something to use on an energy shield based build, or something that just has a very strong regen, or life on hit rather than leech? Seems like an interesting puzzle to build a build around. Let's see. Why is everybody running away? Don't you know that you'll be bleeding more if you run away? Silly on that. Silly on that. Okay. Oh, just like the Val City map, you can just run around the edges to really just race through it. I wonder if then in the center is where the boss will be. Or maybe an entrance into the actual boss room. That's would make things interesting and fitting. But that's a dead end room. Maybe we shouldn't go there. Of course, we still have to actually do something with the fireflies. This is still the city, not the temple, so yeah, there's a good chance we'll find an entrance into the actual temple where we will resolve all the things. Okay, despite this being called the Val City, layout wise it is definitely different. It's just inspired by the map, but it's not the same as the map. Otherwise, I would have expected to run into the center thing already. There's a waypoint and more chaos snakes. Oh, hello, Yuna. Webs she weaves with fibers of faith and fear, too strong to break, too strong to cut. Yet there's an Asmiri potion, most ancient. Fire dew. It might be enough to burn a path, make way for us to pass into the heart of Spiderweb. I could brew it for you, but there's one ingredient I do not possess, the blazing blood of the firefly that lives in the most dreaded of thickets. Bring me 7 flames that flit and fly, then I make you a fire dew, and together we go talk to this bright or foolish silk. Okay, we have those, so that's good. Fireflies! Oh.
So bright and juicy with flame. Now for the right. I warn you. Stand back and be not afraid of what you see. And be not afraid for me. The spirit guides and protects. Though I may change, I shall still be, will always be, Yina.
Okay. And she becomes a fiery fox. Or, I think that's a fox. And now we have opened the door to the Temple of Decay. Also, while we were just instantly chatting, a whole bunch of these ancient sentry apparati appeared and started shooting at us. And I'm so happy once again that I just have a boatload of passive life regen. Because otherwise that could have wrecked me, or I would have made the choice to not listen to the lore in order to save my life. But for now, into the Temple of Decay we go. And we're gonna save Silk. Or die trying. Temple of Decay, level 1, so that's a multi-level approach. It's a 54 area still. And it is the last one on the map that we see so far. Okay, some Vaal Frost Guardians. Not quite sure if we saw those before. No, specifically aligned with Frost. I think most of the time they are aligned with all the elements. And they just have a chance to inflict elemental ailments. Previously known as elemental status ailments. And there we have a leaping spider. But it's not leaping anywhere. Ooh. This sheen that comes off of it, for a moment I thought this would be a corrupted area, but no, the reddish glow. Alas, it's just atmospheric lighting. Let's see, Noble Claw, that's just more loot. Okay, just heavily covered in spiderwebs all over the place. Some gaps in there. It's a bit like the Arachnid Nest or the Arachnid Tomb. I think it's the Arachnid Tomb map that this heavily borrows from for the layout. It's also with the thin bridges, some rooms, spiderwebs all over the place. Though there you would normally be greeted by lots of spiders. And less so by these sentry apparati. Or apparati, however you want to pronounce it. Ooh. Plagued arachnids. They look like they're about to burst. They don't. Oh wow. That's another room filled with stuff. These spiders with their backs, they look like they're just gonna pop up and open and spread caustic clouds or something, but all they do is just be quick. It's the looks in this case, they seem to contradict with their actual function. I think playing through the game with a character that primarily uses energy shield as their first line of defense, so not basically any witch. I really wonder how all of these areas with a lot of foes that deal chaos damage, how that's gonna work for you. Because in this case, no, I'm heavily into leech and sustain tactics. So yeah, that would be a complete opposite kind of build to try out and just see how viable it is or how dangerous the playthrough will be. Because chaos damage definitely has more of a presence in the leveling game now than it used to have. And I think it's a good thing. So, no, if you're unsuspecting and you think like, yeah, no, let's just play a hardcore witch and just play through the story, then no, fights like Maligaro or this area that seems, at least based on the looks, seems filled to the brim with things that inflict quite some chaos damage. It might be a bit more dangerous than you had expected it to be. Hello there, Ancestral Power. Yo. You are no more. Okay. It seemed like a bit of a build-up, and then we just get another room. So after Act 7 we have the Cruel Lab remaining. Ooh, Blight Blades. That's poison stacks slowly building up. After this we've got the Cruel Lab. And then it's gonna be a bit of a grind to get to maps and see what has changed on the Atlas. Oh, glancing over at the times, currently 20 past 5. Wow, it's 20 past 5 already. Time flies when you're playing Path of Exile. So now after we wrap up Act 7, I'm gonna stop streaming, have some dinner, and then tonight just do the wrap up things. So that's gonna be going back to Act 6. Yeah, to the prison to do the final trial there, then do the lab, and then do a bit of a grind to get to the maps. Temple of Decay level 2. Wait, I thought we already went to level 2. Or was there a teleportal pad in the level itself? Ah, yes, teleportal pad. Okay. That's alright, explains my confusion. Why I was expecting this to be 55 instead of 54. Now it is 55. We are 56, nearly 57, so 1 to 2 levels ahead, but especially by trying to push through things a little faster than normal. Hello there, 6-socket battle MLR. Trying to push through things a little faster definitely does help to keep me not as far ahead of the curve as I normally would be when I do full clears. Okay, yellow spider. Oh, lots of damage coming in. And there we are. What are you? A volatile poison. Okay. If you say so. If you say so. Can we jump? Yes, we can jump. Nice. Okay, more leapy spiders. Ah, they're now called Arakaali's daughters. They resist lightning, okay. Lacquered helmet, that's also almost like an appropriate item for me. It's a hybrid armor evasion. Okay. Nicely in front of the door, so last one, little bit more poison and bleed duration, so that's that. Then let's see, just considering after this, could go for solo steel, a bit more physical damage reduction, a bit more armor, some elemental resists. That's just going to be nice, building up to whatever penalty we're going to get at some point. Moving over here, got of course the Juggernaut, more life recovery from flasks is pretty neat. And no, our chance to hit is good, so again, still no real need to rush towards Resolute Technique. I mean, if you don't need it, you don't need it, right? It's only, you know, if you've got a character that's like 80 or 85% chance to hit, then picking up Resolute Technique is just going to be a nice damage bonus, but if you've got a 90 plus chance to hit, then it's a bit of a waste. Okay, this is almost like a reverse pyramid. Going deeper underground rather than going deeper above ground. Or further above ground, that is to say. Okay. Plague arachnids. Ha! Now there's the clouds. Right. Doesn't seem to be from the plague arachnids. Okay, where did the cluster clouds pop up from then? Also, doesn't really matter how many spiders I kill, they keep coming back. It's like Matryoshka spiders. A spider in a spider in a spider. Okay, we can just jump over here. Volatile poison. That's almost like a poison elemental, actually, from the looks of it. Has a little bit of a comparable look to the ice elemental or the ice golem. Golem elemental, same difference, right? Okay, lots more spiders. And a dead end. Seems like this might be the top end of the map. So let's just bend over to the side here. Let's see what we can get out of it. And more spiders. So if we just don't do anything, how... Yeah, okay. Next room that we have that's filled with enemies, let's actually just stand in the middle and just have a look at how much damage they do. Like this, for example. No, just stand here. But half a dozen spiders. Yeah, so they do fair chunks of damage if you let them. It's only the sustain that's keeping me alive. So it's not like they're completely harmless. In fact, I think it's the opposite. They are probably pretty potent. More stairs, okay. Oh, Katrina's down here. How did you manage to get in? Did you have your own fireflies as well?
Let us speak of death and desire. The art of death is by... I'm gathering a little necrotic sus...
Okay. Revive. Bring him to the sculpture. Somewhere over here. Well. Let me guess, that is the direction I was gonna go anyway. There we got Arakaali's web, and here I have these helpful minions. I'm getting a little distracted here. Okay, now I fear that Katarina might actually have placed her totem in Arakaali's base. Now that will be interesting. Having 3 helpful little skeletons that make both me and enemies deal more damage. Okay, that's gonna be fun. See if they come along or not. They tag along. And indeed. Okay. That was a silk there. Ooh, Arakaali, Spinner of Shadows. That's a lot of damage. Okay, let's just pop down my totem here. And let's see if we can tank this or if that's gonna be completely ludicrous. Okay. Okay, she moves to other sides of the arena, that's fine. Okay. Getting hit by the crossfire, definitely painful. That's one of the biggest blights I've seen yet. I gotta... Yeah. Arg. What's that? Covered in web. Oh. Not the self. Damage of the crossfire is increasing. So getting out seems useful. Otherwise, it's gonna hurt a lot. Okay. And these things are relatively well telegraphed. You got quite some warm-up time before they actually shoot the guns. Gee. Okay, so face tanking is, yes, technically possible. Not recommended, though. Okay. Second half. Way more intense than the first half. Oh, and dead. Yeah, it didn't get out quick fast enough. Having some mobility in this fight definitely helps you. So let's go back in and finish this. Also, putting down my War Chief totem, it doesn't seem to stick. Around the edges, where you think is land versus where you can actually plop down the totems is weird. So that's definitely thrown me off a little bit. So don't aim for the edges, but actually aim for the tile inside of the edges rather than all the way at the edges. Okay, things are getting more interesting. She's sucking up those purple orb things. Yeah, see ya. Okay, totem placement in here. It's weird. Because here I can't place it, and this definitely seems to be almost a tile away from the edge. Okay. Haven't seen her use the move where all the guns are firing, but that might be because I'm a meleeer. But we did get a map, and we did defeat Arakaali, even though we did die once trying. Hello, Sin. Many an artist of Asmerian descent has engaged in the sad worship of that sultry arachnid, but you looked her in those hypnotic eyes and then ripped them out. She slumbers now in the bed of the earth, alone. A little spider yet creeps and crawls in my palm, a touch more power for my subduer of gods. And now we have Arakaali. 5% reduced damage taken from damage over time. 25% increased recovery of life and energy shield if you've stopped taking damage over time recently. Interesting. If you defeat the goddess, 10% increased movement speed while on burning ground. If you defeat Gnar, the Eater of Carrion, that's the Canyon map, 33% reduced bleeding damage taken while moving. That lines up with, what was it? Fall of Oriath, that's also a chance to avoid bleeding. And defeat the Void Anomaly, that's gonna be the Quarry map, I think. Plus 25% chaos resistance against damage over time. So that's just helpful against poison. Okay, so Soul of the Brine King, not terribly impressed, so let's just switch. Taking less damage from damage over time is always a good thing. And that concludes, I think, Act 7. Let's have it over to Doriani's laboratory. Which has a nice waypoint. Just to the side here, and it's a level 68 area. I'm level 57 after defeating Arakaali for the first time. So that's 11 levels below a tier 1 maps. And here we have a mapping device. Though funny enough, Chamber of Sins here also contains a map device. So I think we could insert this one in both places. So you can just choose where you're gonna choose to do your mapping. Either way, we have now completed the story. Let's see what the NPCs in town have to say. If they have anything to say at all.
Greetings.
Silk.
I miss my friend. Silk knew the spirit as I did. We would talk, understand it, together. Now there is no one but me.
Fireflies.
You have found the resting place of this Arakaali? Good. The spirit tells me that we will not reach her, not without help. Web she weaves with fibers of faith and fear. Too strong to break, too strong to cut. Yet there is an Esmeri potion, most ancient, fire dew.
So this is the same lore as she mentioned when she was standing there. Elamir. Poor Silk. Like so many before him, Silk succumbed to a most insidious disease. Ambition. That craving for greatness. An irresistible compulsion to leave one's mark on the world. There's another name for marks like that. Scars. Okay, that's nice and harsh. Vaal City. While they were highly advanced in the technology, the Vaal were rather brutish in their social practices. I find it rather baffling to think of the Vaal as a people who believed in science and progress, and yet constructed elaborate sacrificial altars in the centers of their cities. Judging by the construction of this particular ruin, I would say that the city rose to prominence during the reign of Queen Tetzlapokal, who some scholars refer to as a wave of disturbing proclivities. She was a devotee of Arakaali, and according to the literature, had a deep fascination with mortality and the inert human form. The histories tell how the queen would request her subjects to deposit the bodies of their deceased loved ones upon the steps of her palace. The corpses would promptly be taken inside to be used for... Unfortunately, most scholars fell into hysterical conjecture at this point. At least, I hope it was conjecture. Okay, any other lore bits? Sin. Many an artist of Esmerian descent has engaged in the sad worship of that sultry arachnid. But you looked her in those hypnotic eyes. Oh, same lore yet again.
Good to see you still kicking.
Okay, but that concludes Act 7. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. So, as I mentioned, I'll do another stream tonight to wrap up the extra trials to get to the Cruel Aspirants Plaza. I don't think we actually have any way to do the Merciless trial yet, so getting 2 of the points is gonna be enough. And I'll just see if I can make it 2 maps by just farming some areas and just improving gear a little bit. So for now, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye bye.